Hey there, this is Jamie joining you for Book Club Chapter 9. Today we're going to talk about Chapter 9, as I just said, Build a Better Community. This is the topic of Chapter 9. And the point of this book club is to kind of update these chapters to what I've learned since 2014 when I wrote this book, and other more modern examples. And one thing that I want to mention right away is I've reread this chapter, and this chapter isn't all that much really about building a community. It's a lot more about the mid-campaign slump that many campaigns encounter. And we talked about this a little bit last week in terms of timing, that a lot of projects simply go on a little bit too long. And so it's natural for you, if you've done a good job of building up a strong audience of curious onlookers who are ready to back your project at the beginning, it's normal to get a big bump at the beginning. And then it's also normal to get a big bump at the end after people who were kind of debating, they were on the fence about whether to back your project, come through at the end. That is normal. But it is also normal to have kind of this doldrum period where it feels like not a lot is happening. And it can help if you have a shorter campaign, because then that period is shorter. You can share more impactful news on a more regular basis rather than trying to stretch stuff out. So that's one little thing from last week that I'll carry over to this week. Chad is joining us today. Thanks, Chad, for coming by. Chad says he loves my T-shirt. Thank you, Chad. I chose this specifically today because it felt right for a day where I'll be talking about crowdfunding for some reason. Garrett's popping in as well too. So this chapter is really more about the mid-campaign slump. And I've separated this into two different sections, as you may have seen in the e-newsletter that I sent out about this chapter. Things you can do inwardly, that is for people who already follow you, and for backers who are already there with you, and things to do outwardly. So outreach beyond your backers or current backer group, people who currently know you. So let's start with the inward part, because I think this is actually the most important, because I think this is what creators too easily forget when they see, okay, I have a successfully funded project, it's day 8, and it seems to have slowed down a bit. I think the instinct can be to say, okay, I already have these backers. I won't worry about the backers that I already have. I'll worry about the backers that I don't have. And I think that is a big mistake. I think the people who have already opted into your project and are already supporting you, they're the main thing. They are the people. They are your audience. They were the ones who have signed up to follow the campaign. So inward facing things that you can do that focus on those people, the current backers. One is to simply ask questions. Finish every project update with a question. This is a way to basically just engage more people and get feedback. I'll come back to feedback in a second, but this is more so just a way to create conversation and to get to know your backers better, and to encourage them to talk about, to participate in the conversation around the project. So on every update, I love asking a question at the end to engage people. It invites people to participate in the conversation instead of just reading the update. And also in the comments too. I think questions can often be used as a nice deflecting tool too, where maybe someone says, hey, what do you think about this idea? And you can say something short like, oh, I think that's a neat idea, and then follow that up with a question. So it throws it back to them rather than putting the impetus on you to make a decision really quick that could impact a much bigger aspect of the project. So asking questions, I love doing that. That's a great way to engage backers and to build community, per the title of this chapter. The next category is to actually engage with backer comments. I think I've talked about this a little bit in the Write a Blog section of the book. I assume there's a chapter in the book somewhere where I talk about the value of writing a blog. But if you have backers who have decided to participate in the comments, if they don't see that you are participating, they will slowly drift away, or they'll get angry that you aren't participating, and even though it is your project and you're there. So I highly recommend that creators participate in the comments. It doesn't mean that you reply to every comment. It doesn't mean that you even take over the conversation, but just you show that you are there, that you are following along, that you are listening, and that you are a participant just like them. I think building a community, a big part of that is showing that you yourself are part of that community and part of that engagement and part of that conversation. The next category is, and I'm not even really, I've already noted these, so I'm not going to go through the chapter all that much here, although I do need to think of some good examples as I go. The next category are polls and surveys. This is an aspect of crowdfunding that I really wish that, 7 years have passed at this point, 8 years. I wish that Kickstarter had built a polling platform or a polling app into their platform. I don't understand why they haven't done this. It's something that's so easy to add on on any blogging website. I'm not sure if GameFound has it or if BackerKit has it. I think actually BackerKit might have it, but I'm not sure if GameFound does. But I think the ability for a creator to add a poll where people can just click on their preference or click on multiple preferences, I think is a great thing for creators to offer to backers to see. And actually the key to here is that not only does the creator get to learn what backers have a preference about, but other backers get to see that too. And so if you have what feels like a lot of people saying, hey, I wish you would, I wish you would double the size of the dice in the game. That is obviously an additional cost. It costs more, and so it's a big decision for you to make. And one way to see if other backers agree is to make a poll about it and share that with backers to see if people actually want giant dice in the game or if they're happy with the more standard 60 millimeter D6. And in responding to that, not only are you learning, but you're showing that vocal minority in particular. Well, you're learning if they are a vocal minority or if they are the majority. And if they are a vocal minority, you're showing them, hey, I get that you want this. I listened to you. I made a poll about it. But as you can see, 85% of the backers don't want this or don't want to pay for this. So it's a nice visual way to show backers what the other backers want. I don't have any recent examples of that either, although I have one on my blog today where I have a poll just to learn more about people's preferences for sleeving cards, and the results are very interesting. The fifth category, fifth out of 5 here, or 5th out of 6, is photography and sharing. And I have a fun example in the chapter from Pencil First Games, one of their first games, Liftoff. He had a little photo contest where he asked backers, he encouraged backers to share photos of little meeples. I think this was at Gen Con. Yeah, it was at Gen Con, which just happened here in 2022 as well, 2022. But yeah, he encouraged backers to take these little photos and share them. And I did this with Between Two Cities. This was fun with Between Two Cities. I asked backers to take a photo of, I can't remember what I had them put between, but something between two things and submit those photos. And it was just kind of a fun thing to do. And back then, actually, the one difference between now and then is that Instagram, I don't think was even a thing or even a platform back in 2014. It is now, and Instagram, I think, is a great place to share fun photos. And so this is an easy way to encourage your backers to say, you know, the theme of this project is, or the theme of this game is chocolate. Take a photo of your favorite chocolate bar and tag something related to the project in that photo and post it to Instagram. And that way backers have this fun thing that they can do. They can post it on Instagram. A lot of backers won't do it, but some backers will have fun with it. And you can support their posting of those photos by sharing the photos to your story on Instagram. So that way there's kind of you're showing them that you are supporting them, that you're seeing the photos that they're taking. I think Instagram is kind of a big boost for photo sharing, especially fun photo sharing, where people can share their passions on Instagram and easily share it. And you can easily see, thanks to the hashtag search, who is actually sharing those photos. So I think that's a great way to engage your current backers with a fun thing, but expose the fun thing that they're doing to a broader audience of other people who are on Instagram. Chad says polls are a nice way to say no, but thank you. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Or say yes if you realize that people really want something and you didn't realize that. It's a good way to say yes as well. The last category of looking inwardly for the mid-campaign slump are puzzles and mysteries. These are a little bit more involved, and I have seen some campaigns do some pretty cool things with these puzzles and mysteries over the years. Sometimes it's the idea of a puzzle or mystery is part of the game, and so with the project updates, they might drop little hints or little puzzles along the way for backers to solve, or even to work together to solve. I think puzzle and mysteries, they can take a lot of work and not have a lot of resulting benefits, because I think typically only a small number of backers actually engage with them. But if it's fun for you as a creator to do that, go for it. That can be a fun way for you to engage in a project. Somewhat related to this, and somewhat related to the polls and surveys too, is a very recent project did something really cool. They did a showdown. And I've seen some other projects do these showdowns to determine what the next stretch goal will be. We'll do a showdown between these two. You can vote on these two options. This will be the next stretch goal. And for the very recent Moonrakers expansion campaign, they did this showdown thing where they put two cards up against one another. I think they might have been both random. And you got to vote on which card you wanted to be a hologram a foil card. So it would gain a hologram foil on it. And then whichever card was voted on after a day or so, that would be added to the project as a stretch goal hologram card, and the other card would go back into the pool to be randomly selected for the next showdown. I thought that was really cool. I thought that was a really neat way to engage backers, get backers to talk about like which card they thought was better based on their knowledge of Moonrakers, and even just for backers who just want to click on a poll. Polls don't take that long to engage backers with. So many backers, I'm sure, just looked at those two cards and were like, okay, I think this one would look cooler with foil. And so they voted on that one. I think that's a neat way to have this showdown thing to create engagement with your backers. I don't know if that sort of inward engagement creates some outward sharing in the same way that the Instagram photos do, but maybe a little bit. Garrett says, we have a local donut shop who did a showdown every week for 2 new menu items. It was a huge success for the store. I do think it works really well for restaurants. The example I gave in my blog post was a local burger place called Bailey's Range, where they do every 2 weeks they have a showdown where they have a burger from one location of the store. I think both burgers are available at both locations, but one chef at one of the locations puts up a burger for the showdown. The other chef puts one up for the showdown, and the winning burger stays for the next 2 weeks, and another competing burger comes in. It's a cool concept. And for restaurants, it encourages people to come back to that restaurant over and over again. And that's kind of the point of the project too. If you can get backers to repeatedly revisit the project page, to revisit it, to see what's going on, to engage in some way, even if it's a simple way, I think it's more likely that that project will be on their mind, more likely that they're going to be talking about it or excited about it and sharing it. That's kind of the point of the inward engagement. So I guess that there is like a marketing purpose to it, but it's also just to have fun with your backers. That's the community that you're having with the backers, and good things and goodwill can emerge from that, but the focus is on having fun with them and learning from them. Let's switch gears and talk about the mid-campaign slump and talking about outward-facing engagement. So looking beyond your current backers to potential backers, people that you want to invite to your project page. One of the things that I talk about in the book are simply to hang out online. And this is something that I encourage a lot more, I think, before the project than during the project. By this, I mean become active in communities that are related to your project. So if I'm running a board game Kickstarter campaign or board game crowdfunding campaign, that I probably want to be active before launch in board gaming communities, and not to promote my thing, not to just pop into random conversations and be like, oh, I've got a game like that, or look at my game, but rather just to be there, just to be active, let people see you in the community. So if your name does come up later as attached to a project, then you've built that camaraderie. You've built that reputation that you are there to be a part of the community and not just for yourself, not just for your project. I think that can help a lot. But I do recommend doing that before you launch, because when you launch, if you have a successful project, you'll probably have a lot of other things that you're focused on at the time. Martin's jumping in for what is a random Stonemeyer question, but I'm happy to answer it, Martin. He says, I just played Libertalia a couple days ago. What a fun game. Already loved it from the original, and now it just shines. Can I ask if there are any expansions in the works? We haven't announced any expansions for Libertalia yet, Martin. I think that it is possible someday, but as of now, we have not announced anything like that. So the other next category about the mid-campaign slump, outward focusing strategies, is paid advertising. And this is something that I think I've changed my mind about over the years. When I wrote the book, I was not all that high on paid advertising. I did pay for Board Game Geek ads as I was running board game campaigns, and I think Board Game Geek banner ads are an effective way of sharing your project with other people. I think they're very effective at that. I still recommend that. I've seen a lot more Instagram and Facebook ads that actually do interest me. I mean, they're pretty good. They're very targeted. They know that I like board games, and so they have these companies that run these types of ads pop up in my feed all the time, and I'm generally happy to see them. So that's just my experience. Your mileage may vary on them, but I think there are probably some pretty good companies out there that do a good job with it. I haven't ever gotten anyone, I don't think, to really strongly recommend one company in particular. So I am open to that. If anyone has any suggestions there that you think I should learn more about and talk more about on my blog, I'd be happy to do that. So I don't have any specific company recommendations here. I'm going to scroll down a couple questions here. Michael says, just dropped in to say hi, currently doing some work-related stuff, and we'll just watch this replay later. Thanks, Michael, for popping in. Good to see you here. Chris says, can we go back to the idea of contests? Kickstarter says that they ban contests. Are there specific kinds of contests that are allowed? So Kickstarter is from what I understand, because they've always been a little vague on contests, but I think the general idea is they don't want you to do something where random backers win something. And so all these things that I've talked about in terms of backer engagement, they are things just to do something fun together with backers, but they're not opportunities for you to elevate one backer above the rest. I think if something is completely merit-based, like if you, I don't know, if you did like a photo contest and you selected your favorite photo and gave that backer a extra add-on, I think Kickstarter might view that differently than a contest where you say, okay, on Tuesday, I'm going to select one random backer, that's the keyword there, and I'm going to double their, I'm going to give their reward for free instead of having them pay for it or something like that, or give them something for free. I think the random versus merit-based is what Kickstarter is talking about there, but I've never really gotten full clarity about that from them about that. So that's the type of thing, if you're very interested in doing some sort of contest that elevates one backer above the others, which in general I don't think is a good thing to do philosophically for crowdfunding. But if you really want to do that, I would suggest researching it before the campaign. And if you're in the middle of your campaign, hearing this for the first time right now, just don't do it. It's not worth it because Kickstarter might shut down your project for no great reason because it is a pretty vague ruling. Sorry, Chris, to not have more clarity about that at this point, but Kickstarter has never really offered, in my opinion, great clarity about contests. George says, what was your preferred way to share milestones and achievements back in the day? Oh, George is always the best at getting me to segue to the next topic. Although George is skipping ahead a little bit here, but I'll jump to it. Sharing milestones and achievement. What's my preferred way to share milestones and achievements back in the day for the Viticulture Kickstarter campaign? Yeah, this is a neat thing. So I love the idea of sharing milestones and achievements. I think that's a fun way to share your project outside of your campaign, to share it on Instagram, Facebook, social media in general, Twitter, YouTube if you have a channel, your own platform, if you have a blog, all that stuff. The milestones and achievements are a good time to do that because it's actually, one way to think about it is it's a good way to filter yourself and to hold yourself back from posting and kind of spamming your social media accounts every day. You don't want to spam people, giving them like daily project updates if they haven't signed up for that. Like they may follow you on Facebook, but that doesn't mean they followed you for every single project update. If they want that, they can back your project. So I think using milestones and achievements are a great way to celebrate key moments in your campaign, like Chris's campaign. Chris has a campaign right now that he's running. Chris, feel free to put a link in the comments below so people can see it. Chris celebrated when he got 100 backers. That was a big achievement, a big day to get 100 backers. So use those achievements and those milestones as an opportunity to share your project on social media. Way back in the Viticulture campaign, I think that was when I used my personal Facebook feed back then to share those achievements and celebrate it with people who didn't care about the project, but maybe cared about me a little bit. And I guess the connection today, here Chris did just share it, Nomadic Gardeners in the comments here. Today I still do this, and this doesn't apply to Kickstarters, but I can show you how effective it is. I still do this for to celebrate the birthdays of our games. And I'm always delighted and happy to see how many people get excited about these birthdays. So I celebrate basically the retail release date of various games. Recently, we celebrated the 6th birthday of Scythe and the 4th birthday of My Little Scythe. And it's just a fun reason to celebrate. I think people just like to celebrate things. And even though it's a somewhat arbitrary milestone, it is something to celebrate. It's a reason for someone to choose one game off the shelf over the other. It's a reason for them to share their favorite thing about that game on social media. Or it's just a reason for someone to click like and be like, oh yeah, I'm happy to see that game is still around. Doesn't apply to Kickstarter as well while the project is live, but I think that shows you that milestones do go over well. Celebrating things go over well. Chad says, I've heard good things about MailChimp with ad campaigns, but would you say website ads or email ads are superior? I use MailChimp for e-newsletters. I don't know about using it for ad campaigns. Website ads or email ads are superior. I don't really know. So, Chad, are you saying like if you buy an ad on someone else's e-newsletter, or are you saying just kind of sending out your own e-newsletter? Let me know a little bit more about what you're referring to with about email ads. In general, though, I think of ads as more either email or banner based or social media based than associated with an e-newsletter like MailChimp. Garrett says, Project Ironside from Cloud Puncher Games, a new gaming table. I see 20 ads a day for this in my feed, and the launch date keeps getting pushed. I'm not interested in the table, but at the same time, I kind of am. The advertising is very effective. That's cool. 20 ads a day seems like a lot. They might want to tone that back a little bit, but repetition is powerful. To see the same ad once and be like, okay, I'm a little curious, but not enough to click through on that. And then you see it again, and if it's well done, if it's a well done ad, or even just a well done post, but if it's a well done post of any form, seeing it again might intrigue you a little bit more, especially if it has something a little different about it, little other tastes that you didn't think about before. I remember experiencing this fairly recently. Again, this was before Project went live rather than to address a mid-campaign slump, but with the game Mythwind. That was a game on Kickstarter around this time last year. And I had seen ads on Kickstarter every now and then, leading up to the launch, before they launched. I knew nothing about the game, but every time I saw an ad, I was a little bit more intrigued. And maybe the third time I saw one was when I was ready to say, okay, this just seems pretty cool. I want to follow along more closely. I want to sign up for e-newsletter updates about this game. And every few weeks, maybe, the creator, Brendan, I believe, sent out kind of design diary updates about how the game was coming along. And this was all before launch. So I think this was very effective to do before launch. I'll come back to the comments in a second. One of the other things in the mid-campaign slump are calls to action. So encouraging backers to do something. So that's where you are leveraging your current backers, your inward-focusing backers, outwardly, and saying, hey, okay, today is the day. We're really close, and you use something that's beneficial for them. Say we are really close to this stretch goal. If possible, share this project with the one person that you think would really, really enjoy it and may not already know about it. Or even be more specific. If it's a game about the chocolate-themed game that we're talking about. So say, share this project with the gamer in your life who loves chocolate just as much as you. Or connect it to the mechanisms. Share this with the person in your life who loves worker placement as much as you do, that type of thing. Whatever the theme of the game is or the mechanics of the game. So one specific call to action. I wouldn't do this often in the project. And if you do it more than once, really, it'll lose its shine, lose its luster. But if you do it once and say, okay, this is a big deal. This is something that I think everyone will benefit from, hitting this stretch goal. So this is the time to share it, and this is the person to share it with. I think that having that concrete element of helping people figure out how to share it. And some people will also just want the easy thing to do, which is maybe to click a retweet. Retweeting is super, super easy. Or sharing something to their story on Instagram. Again, that wasn't around back in 2014. But something, for many backers, something very easy that they don't have to think about can also be really, really appealing for them. So you might want to do both of those at the same time. Say either share it with a specific person, give them an anchor point, or give them a very easy shareable option if they want to. I have one more category, but let me look down at the comments real quick. Someone said Sai's birthday brought them a big smile. Chris said that. George says, I really like how you structured the e-newsletter for Stonemaier Games. It has a general template, and it's easy to customize every month. That is definitely true. I look forward to reading it each month, and I especially love it when you include small perks or hints about Stonemaier things or products or special information. Yeah, I do that. That's been a fun thing that I've started doing more recently where, and this is something that you can do actually at the bottom. It works in the bottom of project updates as well. But you can do all the important stuff at the top. Like here's the most important thing that you need to know right now. Then do something fun and visual. You might have some other stuff, maybe a template showing updates. And then at the bottom, every now and then, throw in a surprise. Like if someone's really reading through it and paying attention, include something for that person where they get some special information, some special knowledge that maybe a spoiler, a peek into the future. I think that could be fun to do as well. And once you do that once, and people start to notice, then more people are more likely to actually read through the whole thing. You don't want to you don't want to force people to read the whole thing. So make it something that they don't need to know right now, but would be fun for them to know in the future. Chad says, I guess my question about email ads versus website ads is which platform people would rather get ads through email or website banners. Email can be welcome if someone subscribed to your MailChimp, but banner ads can seem a little creepier and invasive. That's true. Banner ads, I'm sure you get ads all the time for something that you like mentioned offhand, and suddenly it's on your social media feed. That can be a little odd. The thing with email is they already need to have subscribed to the thing. I guess one corollary here is Board Game Geek. Board Game Geek has an email that they send out every couple of weeks, maybe every week, where they share current projects, and you can buy ad space on that email to get them to showcase your project on that ad. I think it's pretty effective. I don't know the click-through rates for that. I don't think I've ever paid for an ad on it. I generally read it, but the email is structured a little bit weird where you do have to scroll to get to the core content. The top space of that email isn't, in my opinion, used all that effectively. You're kind of forcing people to scroll down and find this stuff. So I don't know how effective that is. Maybe the core overarching answer here is to ask for click-through rates. Get data about recent projects or similar projects if the advertiser is willing to share them. And if they aren't, go with a different advertiser. Gino says, congrats on the 6th birthday of Scythe. To be honest, with the amount of game time our group has put into it and its expansions, including my little Scythe, I'm surprised it's only been 6 years. Yeah, it has felt longer than that. I feel like I have so much fond memories to fill an entire decade. Thank you, Jamie, and so many games. Oh, thank you so much, Gino, for popping in to say that. I really appreciate that, and I'm glad that Scythe has brought joy to your tabletop over the last 6 years, and hopefully that'll continue for years to come. The last category is tied to what Chad has been talking about, e-newsletter and other content hubs. And this is where it comes back to what I've talked about before, about how important it is to have your own hubs where people who are interested in your content can subscribe to it and get it on an ongoing basis whenever you have something important to share. Even though this is somewhat inward, because there's people who have opted in, specifically here I'm talking about people who haven't opted into your project yet, but they've opted into you or your company. They've signed up for your e-newsletter because you have an e-newsletter. They've signed up for your Facebook page because you have one. They've signed up for your Instagram feed because you have an Instagram. Same with Twitter. Same with ideally a blog or a website of some form. You'll get different rates of success with all these, but having all those platforms active where people can easily find you and subscribe for that time, that one time or those 2 times where you really need to share something important to them, or something that you hope will be important to them, that is important to you, that they're there, that they're already subscribed. If you're running a project right now and you don't have any of those hubs set up, you don't have anyone following what you're creating or what your passions are, then you don't have this. You don't have access to this tool that is super, super helpful. Skylar says, you said that you enjoyed the creator of Mythwind's updates as he created the game. What makes you keep games you're working on more of a secret until they're announced instead of showing updates as they progress? Do you see a lot of benefit in having more of a surprise? Does feedback during development get too overwhelming? That's a great question, Skylar. And I'm going to answer that for me. Actually, let me start by answering that for other creators in a way where I think up-and-coming creators, newer creators, I think it's really, really important to share your stuff openly and freely all the time. I had an experience with Charterstone where I feel like I shared it too early, and I shared it, and then I realized that the game still had a lot of work to do, and so people got excited about it and very curious, and then I saw that curiosity kind of wane over time and turn into some form of impatience. Passion-driven impatience. People were curious, or curiosity-driven impatience, but impatience, where it felt like the game was delayed, which it essentially was, but because it was taking longer than I thought. But I kind of learned from that I would rather have a new product completely done, so that when I start talking about it, people can get excited about it and know that it's actually coming soon, and know that the thing that I'm talking about that I'm excited about isn't years down the road. Yeah, so that's the main reason, Skylar, that I wait now. I think there are times where maybe I wait a little bit too long, but I think I've learned there are so many uncertainties until the boats actually arrive at port that I mean, even recently, I've been talking to excitedly about Stonemaier Games' 10th anniversary, which we are celebrating in September. And there were a few products that I was hoping to have at the beginning of September that I actually thought for sure that we would have. And then I found out a couple days ago that they're not going to arrive until mid-September. So I found that I need to be really careful about sharing excitement and getting people excited about something until all that uncertainty is gone. The game is made, it's produced, it's shipped to fulfillment centers. And that way people can get excited about something and anticipate it for a little while, but not for an unknown, uncertain future period of time. So that's why I think I've changed a little bit on that. That's a great question. That's 30 minutes. That's what I aim for today in this topic. Thank you for joining me for this conversation. Lots of great comments and notes today. And actually, Chad has a comment to piggyback off of what I just said. He says, in the new age of waiting for Kickstarters, I would say that Stonemaier Games really stands out as different and exciting because customers know that the recently announced game is only days away or weeks away. He loves that excitement. Thank you, Chad, for sharing that. And that is what I'm striving for in doing this. The next chapter is, it's about lifestyle and big changes you make in your life. Don't quit your day job until you quit your day job. So I'm going to talk about my choice back in 2013 to go full-time at Stonemaier Games. I'm still full-time at Stonemaier Games, so I'll probably have a lot of stuff to share about that choice and if it was the right choice or not to do that, and how I made that choice, how I kind of stepped a little bit into that. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in 2 weeks, I think. And I may even, just in case, if you're reading ahead, yeah, the last chapter is so short. I'm just going to combine the last two chapters because the final chapter is very, very short. And so let's do chapters 10 and 11 in 2 weeks to end the book, to close out the book club. Thank you so much for joining me for today's conversation, for the ongoing conversation about a crowdfunder strategy guide, and I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks. Let's actually, George, just one final topic. I think the perfect timing regarding this was Tapestry in 2019. I think people were very excited about the product launch, perfectly timed, and it sold out the first printing very fast. I remember like it was yesterday. I'm glad you said that, George. I think the one thing I changed about Tapestry is that the reviews came out on the same day as the pre-order went live. It was not for any reason other than I wanted people to watch a review, get excited about it, and immediately click through on a link to go buy it. But I've learned to let reviewers talk about it a little bit before the pre-order date, so people don't feel that rush to get something before it sells out, that type of thing. Timing is everything, as Jason just says. All right, folks, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care. Bye.